Number 9, excuse me, fighting. Some child sexual abuse victims have won settlements of over $1 million from churches and schools. That is true. The last settlement that was awarded was for $5 million. Number 10, a child molester who has experienced a religious conversion no longer presents a threat to children. False. Number 11, child sexual abuse is a criminal offense in all 50 states. That is true. That is true. Number 12, a child molester may have over 500 victims in a lifetime.
True.
That is true. The average number of victims by someone engaged in this activity is 240. Number 13, churches have in the past been supportive of victims of child sexual abuse. False. And that goes for schools as well. Let's look at the sheets that are stapled together. This gives you the legal definition of abuse. It gives you, on the front, it talks about the fact that it is criminal behavior and the fact that we sometimes forget that it is touching and non-touching aspects. On the back of that front sheet, you will see the types of abuse, the ones that clearly involve touching, the ones that clearly do not involve touching. I think that probably for you as volunteers, the one that you need to be most aware of are things like verbal comments, that you are careful about what you say. You're all parents. You know how you're going to want to talk in front of your own children. Just carry that forward. But there are times when sometimes parents will get together and they forget where they are and will make comments that really aren't appropriate. And so you need to be thinking about your conversations that you're having when you are there with your children. The next sheet is very important because we have this stereotypical idea of where abuse takes place, that it is only in a certain socioeconomic group, that it is only in certain circumstances, and we need to disabuse ourselves of that position because it is truly across all economic and all social groups of people. And we need to remember that frequently it is someone who is trusted, but that more frequently it's someone who is trusted, but it can happen to someone with someone they do not know. The other sheet on the back are symptoms of molestation. Those are there simply so that you put this in a file and hopefully never have to even look at it. But you never know when you're going to be in a circumstance when you have a child, when you have a neighbor, when you have some situation that you are concerned about a child, and this gives you a list of things that you may want to look for. Now that brings me to the next very, very, very important part. If you are ever in any way concerned about what is going on with a child, do you go home, pick up your phone, call your best friend and say, hey, let me tell you what I saw today. What do you think I ought to do? Please do not. That is not fair to the child. It's not fair to the family. It's not fair to anyone. If you are at all distressed or disturbed about what you see going on with a child, your first call is to the teacher. If you're not comfortable calling the teacher, you call Smokey, you call Dr. Deb, you call me. You call someone who is in a place of authority who can follow up and do something about it. You may never hear back what happens with that call, but know that if you've placed it in the right hands, you've done the right thing. If you get on the phone and immediately start calling your friends, you've spread a rumor that may or may not be true. When I was working at a church in South Carolina, we had a situation where a mother came in, said that things had happened with her 3-year-old, accused the male teacher who was there, and I assured her that it would be handled. The male teacher was immediately suspended. I mean, we dealt with it. She went home and immediately got on the phone. The whole town by that afternoon, I don't even want to tell you how many phone calls I had from people within the town who were so distressed over this happening. Well, it turned out that the teacher had nothing to do with what was going on with the child. It happened to be her boyfriend. But it didn't matter. By the time all of that came out, this man's job had been lost, his reputation had been destroyed, and he had to leave town. We never know what is going on, so it is not, when you are suspicious, it's not the kind of circumstance that you are sharing with your friends. They are circumstances that are personal and private, and you need to go to people in authority. And believe me, once you have told us, we are required by law to follow up. We can't just say, oh, I think they're overreacting. We are required by law to follow up. Twice this year, there have been phone calls that, not necessarily this, but of circumstances around a family. If it falls in a family that is in my realm of responsibility, then I have to make those phone calls. I have to make the home visits. I have to follow up. I am required by law to do that. Whether I have received the phone call personally or it's been received by Father Smokey and passed on to me. Know that if you have any concerns, once they're brought to us, we will be dealing with it. But I ask you to please be considerate of the child and the family and not begin to spread the conversation about your concerns. Does that make sense? Thank you. And also, that is the Christian thing to do. We'll add that little detail in there.